Welcome to Whisperer of Madness. If you're enjoying the story, consider liking the video and subscribing. It really helps grow the channel and this community. Snake Girl and Escape. What's going on? Isn't she the leader of the organization? The Elia's governor doubtfully looked at the Snake Girl, only to find that she was similarly perplexed. It doesn't matter, the first task is to capture her. Those who try to insult our master's glory must be punished. The governor would not have reached rank 4 as a sacrificer if he didn't worship the nefarious filthbird so fervently. However, how could Leyland really allow him to make a move? In any case, he is still a rank 4 elite from the nefarious filthbirds group, so it won't be possible to just take him down in one strike. The power of Dreamforce spells was amplified to an alarming extent by the array, like charcoal being transformed into diamond. Rank 4 Dreamforce spell, Distorted Labyrinth. Dreamforce surged out violently to create an enormous labyrinth which enveloped the governor and the 3 morning stars who were assisting him. The walls rumbled under impact, and the Nighthawk's cry could be heard as the Dreamforce labyrinth began to morph and warp. "Let's go! I can't trap them for too long." Leyland transformed into a black hurricane that swallowed the girl up. Even though he'd conjured the spell himself, it was being sustained by the Dreamforce the girl had summoned, and not much remained. Leyland was not certain of how long it would last, so it was necessary to quickly flee the scene. The Snake Girl's scarlet eyes flashed as she sensed the bloodline power within Leyland, and she did not resist. The dark hurricane screamed with destructive power, drawing life force from the miscellaneous fish along the way. Only mummified corpses were left behind. As they continued on, there were still some who tried to stop them. Soon, however, they disappeared into the horizon. Bang! Rumble! After 10 seconds, a great amount of lightning appeared above the dark red labyrinth. Shortly after, the lightning struck down, and the elated chirp was let loose by the gigantic hawk. Crash! The entire labyrinth fell apart, exposing the silhouettes of the flustered Elia's governor and his companions. "Chase after them and send out a warrant. Do not let that woman escape." The Elia's governor's eyes had reddened, and even his voice had become hoarse, frightening the surrounding bodyguards into chilly silence. The purgatory world seems to be different from the Magus world. The atoms' chemical bonds seem to be sturdier. Consequently, more power is needed to manipulate them. Leyland was thinking of what had happened before when he used his full magic power as he ran away with the girl. Ever since he had snuck into the purgatory world, he had always maintained an extremely low profile. He had previously used the metal activation spell Formation once, and that remained the only time he had used such a large-scale spell in this world. This is worse than before. The physical laws here are even more severe. While the power of spells has decreased, the cost to activate them has instead increased. Leyland looked at the AI chip as it projected the newest results into his memory bank. Beep. Based on on-site detections and theoretical experiments, all levels of magic from the Magus world are weakened by 89% in the purgatory world. This weakening effect is very strong. Could it be that the purgatory world didn't allow entry to other strength systems in ancient times? Thinking of this other idea, Leyland ordered the AI chip. "AI chip, search the database. Find the most suitable strength system for the purgatory world." Beep. Mission established. Scanning. The AI chip found the answer immediately. Based on simulations, the 2 most suitable power systems are 1 Path of Sacrifices, 2 Beast Spirit Magic. Leyland wasn't surprised by the results. He had already guessed this outcome. As expected, these are the most suitable systems. They seem to be the purgatory world's most fundamental paths. As a result of differing world laws, every world had its own unique points and paths to power. This inspection made it clear that the Path of Sacrifices and Beast Spirit Magic were the most suited to the purgatory world. "It looks like I'll have to rigorously train to a high realm in both methods." Leyland stroked his chin in thought. Although he was restricted by the All-Snake curse, it only affected his bloodline force. While it was still a weakness, the curse had no effect on other paths to power. "Fire plume," Leyland called out, and a ball of black flames appeared in his hand. "Multi-limb strength." The phantom of a multi-armed race member appeared behind Leyland, boosting his strength. These other cultivation methods were what had allowed Leyland to retain strength at Morning Star even after his bloodline force was sealed. His bloodline force, however, was the main source of his strength. If the All-Snake curse was not removed, he would be drained until he fell. Even if he encountered success with other power systems, The outcome was still set in stone. Since he chose the path of bloodline as his main path, he had even let his own soul be affected by the bloodline. Consequently, other paths could only be considered the icing on top of the cake. As expected, the purgatory world will suppress the strength of those from other worlds. Leyland's expression became gloomy. Dreamforce was another usable source, but its intensity was unpredictable. Therefore, Leyland did not hold many expectations towards it. My bloodline force has been sealed, so I can only rely on other methods. When these other methods reach their highest realm, I will probably be able to use them to remove the All-Snake curse. Leyland steeled his resolve. The AI chip will allow me to quickly advance in rank. The paths of sacrifice and beast spirit magic are of the utmost importance, and Fireplume and Dreamforce come afterwards. As for multi-limb strength, the original information that Leyland had gotten was extremely lacking. Even with AI chip's calculations, it had hardly improved. Thus, Leyland decided to abandon it as it could at most serve as support. By this time, the snake girl had opened her eyes. She said in a frigid voice, "Put me down. This place is over 300 nautical miles away from Port Elias. It should be safe for the time being." Leyland shrugged as he stopped on a barren island. The black hurricane disappeared, exposing both their silhouettes. Only now did Leyland have the time to carefully size up the snake girl. She had long, snow-white hair and scarlet pupils. The white scales on her face were patterned, giving her a distinct aura but not seeming sinister. These features paired well with her air of superiority, giving her a unique charm. It appears as though all bloodline descendants of the Snake Dowager have this characteristic, with charm to spare. Could it be that she specializes in illusion techniques? Leyland was left speechless. The AI chip, however, had had enough time to collect information. Unknown name, Snake Girl. Sex, female, paternal bloodline. Alabaster devil snake, mixed, maternal bloodline. Unknown, deduced to be a humanoid species. Strength 79 agility, 50 strength, 65 spiritual force, 463 soul force, 46. Passive abilities: 1 illusory force field. Shrouds the area around the body in a layer of illusion force field. Life forms with spiritual energy below 200 cannot resist, losing their free will. 2 dreamscape attraction. The alabaster devil snake bloodline possesses the ability to draw dream force. The AI chip very quickly projected the snake girl's image and specific data. Morning Star Realm. This snake girl's stats are actually pretty good. Leyland nodded his head surreptitiously as his thoughts hovered around the mixed tag. Even though her bloodline is of a rank 5 creature, it is clearly not concentrated. It can't even match the one I embedded in my mask. No wonder I don't feel any suppression whatsoever from her, and her ability to attract dream force is so weak. But the ability to connect to Dreamscape is worth more intense research. Although he already possessed a number of Dreamscape spells, he had reached a bottleneck when it came to using Dreamforce. The appearance of an alabaster devil snake, however, gave him hope to resolve this issue. This rank 5 species had inherited the Snake Dowager's talents in controlling Dreamforce, to the point of being able to connect to Dreamscape. This ability was very useful to Leyland. The most crucial point was that he now had in his grasp the pure bloodline of a rank 5 alabaster devil snake. Although Dreamforce isn't reliable, it is still useful as a contingency plan. This girl doesn't seem to have the ability to travel to and from Dreamscape, but she might be able to give me some inspiration. Leyland shamelessly observed the girl, making her feel rather angry. "Are you done looking at me?" The snake girl snorted coldly. "Don't tell me you're going to treat a clansman and your savior like this." Leyland smiled slightly. "After all, without me intervening, I'm afraid you would not have escaped the Elias governor's hands." "So what?" The snake girl appeared to be unyielding. "I clearly warned you to run away, so why did you not leave immediately?" "Good feelings and goodbye. You and I are of the same type, and I had the ability to save you. How could I just leave you?" Leyland spoke in a righteous tone. "Fool!" The snake girl snorted coldly, but it pleased Leyland inwardly to notice her gaze softening considerably. She continued in a gloomy voice, "Mixed bloods like you are actually very rare." Listening to Leyland's words, the snake girl immediately became uncommunicative. Her expression grew so damp it seemed like she could drip water. Leyland secretly nodded to himself as he saw this scene. I wasn't wrong. A half-breed will always suffer discrimination, no matter what world you live in. Leyland understood from the snake girl's bitter expression that she had suffered a lot. However, she was still able to show incomparable concern for those who were similar to her. He took advantage of this misery loves company attitude to gain her full trust. "Oh, that's right, I still don't know your name." Leyland smiled sunnily at her. "Belinda." "Yours?" Belinda stared at Leyland, focusing especially on his facial scales. Her eyes grew dreamy. "My name is Nick, my lovely lady." Just this little praise caused Belinda to flush, showing her lack of experience in dealing with others. "So, Belinda, what do you intend to do next? And what was that at the port? Why were you attacked?" Leyland asked her as if he had no idea about what had happened. He acted as if he wasn't the one who spread information on her. "Nothing, just the final struggle of a group of beholders." The mention of the earlier incident caused Belinda's expression to turn cold. It was evident that she felt extremely resentful. Leyland understood her feelings. After all, her organization hadn't planned to act against Port Elias. At most, their plan was to turn the port into a hub and use it to smuggle some goods. Thus, it was normal to feel resentful when their plans went down the drain. "Nick, I have a question." Belinda looked at Leyland with a solemn expression. "Are you a follower of the Snake Dowager or a part of the Beholder crowd? Or do you believe in other dignitaries?" Identifying which dignitary you followed was an extremely serious matter in the purgatory world. The hostility between opposing factions often led to battles to the death. "I am a wanderer." "I have yet to choose an exemplary." Leyland naturally caught the hidden meaning behind these questions and answered without the slightest hesitation. "I am, however, more inclined towards the matriarch. After all, she is our progenitor." The matriarch. This was the title that the snake descendants in the purgatory world mainly used to address the Snake Dowager. "Since your belief is skewed towards the matriarch, there is no risk of conflict between your belief and mine in the beholders." Leyland expressed his understanding. It seemed as though the Snake Dowager and the Trial's Eye made an alliance. "I am under the command of the Trial's Eye. I came to Port Elias to receive some resources to use in the rebellion against the powers of evil and chaos." Belinda told Leyland of her origins. She explained the conflict between the Trial's Eye and the Filth Bird and went through the history of how civilization had developed in this world. And in the purgatory world, where the two exemplaries' original bodies were located, was an endless conundrum. There was no peace at all between the sacrificers on both sides. Every time they met, there would be a fight to the death. "No wonder you were attacked. Port Elias is the territory of the nefarious Filth Bird." Leyland showed a shocked expression. "The port is a territory of the chaotic power. There isn't much hope for them." Belinda saw Leyland's expression and snorted coldly. "Oh, what do you mean?" Leyland asked interestedly. "I already reported what happened to my superiors. The organization will surely send support. The head of the organization is, at the very least, a rank 5 sacrificer." A flash of gloominess appeared on Belinda's face. "Port Elias dares to forcefully seize our goods and kill our members. This is the Hale Continent's territorial waters. No matter how powerful Elias' backer is, this place still belongs to us." At this point, Belinda was very confident. Port Elias had been sneakily founded through the bird's influence. It had not received approval from the Hale Continent's holy city nor the Snake Dowager. After all, the Snake Dowager had allied herself with the Trial's Eye. As a result, even if Belinda and her compatriots destroyed the entire port later, and even killed the governor of Elias, nothing much could be done. The most Port Elias could do was to secretly order the arrest of Belinda and the others. "A rank 5 sacrificer." Leyland was rather curious. He had seen the frightening abilities of a high-ranked sacrificer from the Elias governor and witnessed the capacity to go through your limits without any bottlenecks. "This kind of high-ranked sacrificer should be the favorite offering of hostile exemplaries." Leyland stroked his chin as the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. Since Leyland decided to practice in the path of offering and the beast spirit magic, he gained some understanding of these two cultivation techniques. Although it wasn't a lot, the information he got, the practical data and the AI chip's deductions allowed him to gain deep knowledge on the two systems. In the path of offering, choosing an exemplary was the most important step. It was also important to choose one whose doctrine aligned with your beliefs. Sacrificial rites were based on equivalent exchange. As long as an offering was made, power would be lent by the exemplary you followed. But truly devout sacrificers would be able to receive greater benefits. Moreover, worshipping opposing exemplaries was an incredibly stupid thing to do. Even if such a sacrificer managed to not get targeted, his benefits would be greatly reduced. As for myself, becoming a snake dowager or a trial's eye sacrificer would be courting death. The best option is the nefarious filthbird. Leyland thought to himself, furthermore, if I make a great sacrifice when I first communicate with the exemplary, I should be able to reap great benefits. I might even receive the unspeakable baptism. Presumably, the bird was enemies with the trial's eye and the snake dowager. Consequently, it would be happy to see Leyland grow strong and break through the snake dowager's seal. The bird was not an almighty rank 9, so it couldn't remove Leyland's all-snake curse. But perhaps it would be able to temporarily suppress the curse. Leyland himself could only suppress the curse for 2 years, which was too short. Possibly extending the suppression time would become a great advantage. Even though Leyland had gone through a great amount of thoughts, on the surface he only seemed to hesitate for a moment. Belinda, you should be a high-ranked sacrificer under the trial's eye, right? Yes, that's right. I'm already a peak rank 3 sacrificer and should be close to breaking through. Too bad I wasn't able to finish this mission. Belinda admitted it without the slightest hesitation. Why don't you follow the almighty matriarch? She is our benevolent and beautiful progenitor. Leyland had an expression of incredible disbelief. Although the snake dowager had allied herself with the trial's eye, it was still considered a betrayal for a descendant to believe in a different exemplary. If she ran into a more radical snake, it might try to eliminate Belinda, the disgrace of the mother. The matriarch, it is true that she is everything to us, but she is just too aloof and remote. We belong to the lowest rung of society, so we only need fairness and justice. And the only one who can give us that is the god of contracts. Belinda laughed coldly at some unknown thought and became excited. Her expression revealed that she was remembering an unbearable event of the past. It was probably the oppression she had once suffered from the purebloods, something she could never forget. As a mixed blood, don't tell me you have a good impression of those so-called pureblood alabaster devil snakes. Belinda stated as a layer of translucent tears appeared on her eyes. Leyland pretended to become silent in response. Well, let's not speak of these unhappy memories. I have already issued the signal and reinforcements from the head of the order will arrive very soon. You should leave. Belinda exhaled a deep breath, glancing at Leyland. All right. The organization was approaching, and since they had different beliefs, staying any longer would arouse suspicion. Besides, he had made a lot of profit today. Not only had he eliminated hidden dangers, he had even established a good relationship with Belinda. In the future, he would arrange another coincidental meeting, so there were no problems at all. Threat and action beep, high-energy magnetic field discovered, determined to be from a rank 5 being. Host is advised to be careful. The AI chip's immediate prompt surprised Leyland. Looks like I can't leave even if I want to at this point. A mysterious smile rose at the edges of Leyland's lips. Still, he pretended to be oblivious to everything, planning to leave after bidding Belinda farewell. Just as Leyland was about to move, tremendous soul force undulations full of just as Leyland was about to move, a streak of tremendous soul force undulations full of astounding strength and intent was transmitted over. Wait, he can't leave. A figure gradually appeared from the surface of the water. A layer of transparent distortions gradually dissipated, revealing a large beholder. This one, however, was different from Jiger. It had 3 different giant eyes of varying sizes. The 3 eyes were in triangular formation, with the central one connected to a few fleshy red channels. Pure white tendrils drooped to the ground, forming the beholder's legs. A great and powerful aura emanated from its body. This one should be an elder eye of the beholders, Leyland judged inwardly. An adult beholder had the strength of an ordinary rank 3 Magus. Elder eyes usually had strength at Morning Star. This beholder was even more uncommon. Besides the power from its own race, it was a powerful sacrificer. The power of judgment emanated from its body, causing Leyland's eyes to narrow. This beholder should be the leader that Belinda mentioned. Doesn't that mean it is a rank 5 sacrificer? As a rank 5 sacrificer, this beholder had strength comparable to a regular radiant moon Magus. What was most terrifying, however, was that its body had been fully branded by the trial's eye, and even the AI chip was unable to scan and determine its stats. Greetings, Lord Bakelark. Belinda knelt reverently while pulling at Leyland's clothes to do the same. Greetings to Sire Bakelark. Leyland merely bowed slightly. This made him seem arrogant, and a hint of disapproval was evident in the beholder elder's large eye. It glanced towards Belinda, transmitting tremendous soul undulations. Fury was evident within its eyes, and it criticized her. "Belinda, your actions today have tarnished the glory of our master. And it's not just your failure at Port Elia's stronghold. All your decisions so far have been rash. Lord Bakelark." While still kneeling, Belinda straightened her back. "Your subordinate is responsible for the failure at Port Elia's, but allowing Nick to leave was a very ordinary matter. He might not be a subordinate of our Master of Order, but he is a descendant of the matriarch. And a fellow clansman of yours," the beholder added coldly. "I have long warned you to not be too kind towards those of your kind with mixed blood. They can only bring trouble. Lord Bakelark, I can vouch for Nick. He's on our side. He helped me at the port." Seeing Bakelark's eyes flash with red, Belinda gritted her teeth and spoke on Leyland's behalf. "All right, I'll let him go. I hope your luck continues, or else there'll be another pair of vertical pupils in my collection." Bakelark twisted his body and turned towards Leyland. "Or should I say, 2 pairs? Belinda was badly frightened by this rank 5's threats, ridicule, and lack of trust. Leyland obviously wasn't the same. Outwardly, he seemed indignant at this, his face and ears turning red. However, he was making a calm analysis on the inside. It arrived far too quick. That means it was already nearby. Perhaps it was the commander of this operation, while Belinda was the one in charge of Port Elia's. Numerous sea tribes arrived as Bakelark and Belinda conversed. Mermen, octomen, and sharkmen, each outfitted in custom-made armor, brandished their assortment of weapons that included pikes and choppers. There were even magicians among their rank, neatly spread out into rows that formed a huge legion of staffs behind Bakelark. Followers of the Master of Order. Evil, chaotic power has taken over Port Elia's and even killed our companions. This entity has committed the worst sin under the skies. What should we do? The beholder elder turned, transmitting tremendous soul force undulations and radiating it in all directions. Eliminate them. Suppress them. Burn them to death. The marine people in Bakelark's legion raised their weapons and roared. "Very good. You are all devout believers of our master." The beholder elder's slit eyes seemed to be filled with traces of red. "I hereby order all of you to attack. The target is Port Elia's." At that, the clamor from the cries of these beings was enough to disperse the clouds in the sky. The surface of the water split apart amidst their thundering voices, countless enormous sea creatures revealing expansive level backs. All the troops climbed atop the enormous marine beasts in an orderly manner, making them look like terrifying war forts. "You, mixed blood of the alabaster, believer of the mistress, you must come with me and use the blood of chaos to prove your loyalty." "What right do you have to do that?" Leyland exclaimed in annoyance, pretending to be a hot-headed person. "What right do I have? Well, I can kill you whenever I want to," Bakelark chuckled, while vast soul force wrapped tightly around Leyland. This was clearly a threat. Leyland was playing the role of a mixed blood with at most morning star strength, so he immediately paled. "Belinda," he looked at Belinda, who was still kneeling, and giving him a pleading look. "Fine, I'll do it. That's the spirit. Chaos is an old enemy of your matriarch, too. Your actions will surely earn her favor." The beholder elder released his soul force. It went near the coastline where a large golden octopus appeared, which let Bakelark stand on its head. "I merely approve of some of the matriarch's ideologies. I don't follow the path of sacrifices. A bloodbath won't bring me any benefits." Leyland looked grim as he mounted a large marine beast with Belinda. Belinda was apologetic, and she transmitted over to him. "I'm sorry, Nick. I dragged you into this. When the time comes, just protect yourself. Leave the rest to me." "It's not your fault." Leyland smiled with difficulty while a trace of coldness flashed in the depths of his eyes. "A rank 5 sacrificer and someone with a high position in the organization would make a great gift for the nefarious filthbird." A curfew had been imposed in Port Elia's due to the recent events. Streets that were usually bustling with life were exceptionally quiet. Boat wreckage and blood could be seen floating in the ocean, and the houses that had been wrecked in the incident were left desolate, yet to be repaired. Groups of troops jogged around in an orderly manner on the streets, occasionally charging into shops and demanding they be allowed to search the area. It was pure chaos. At this moment, an urgent alarm rang out and a piercing defensive air signal sounded. From a high vantage point, one could see a large wave of giant marine beasts with countless figures on their backs surging forth like a tide on the surface of the waters. Aggressive beings approached the port from the sky as well. This scared a few of the free merchants, and they secretly put away their goods and escaped. After all, They could not afford to provoke either organization. Doing so would only lead to a horrible death. Merchants were not the only ones. Even the most evil pirates ran from such a dangerous place. They would rather fight the local troops trying to run away than stay here any longer. Just as the chaos was about to escalate, the bright cries of a hawk sounded out. A large nighthawk beast spirit spread its wings as it circled above the port with a figure on top of it. Terrifying power descended that was at the peak of rank 4, and the pier finally managed to regain its calm. A swishing sound could be heard as something surged towards them. Soon, numerous streaks of light flew in from various locations to stand behind Elia's governor, bowing in greeting. "Lord Governor." They all had morning star-ranked strength, but they could not conceal the worry in their expressions. They are Trial's Eyes followers. I can sense that nauseating smell coming from their bodies even from here. A white-haired elder with a hook-like nose and hawk beak spoke coldly. "This should be about what happened this afternoon. I've already asked for support from the headquarters. However, they are too far away. Even if they used a teleportation spell formation, they would still need to use it several times. It seems our enemies have been preparing for a long time." Elia's governor looked grim as he clenched his fist, causing the air to explode with an ear-piercing shriek. It seemed that he had been thoroughly enraged. Beast Spirit Amplification, HM. That's. At this moment, the opposing enemies had already drawn closer. Hundreds of large marine tribe beasts came to a standstill, just their enormous size enough to put immense pressure on others. The governor of Elias also noticed there were a few acquaintances in their midst. "We meet again, Governor." Belinda stood up, sounding light-hearted and cheerful. "You never expected we would meet again so soon, did you?" "I just hate the fact that I didn't catch you back then. If not, I'd definitely have skinned you and turned you into a rug," the governor exclaimed hatefully. He then shot Leyland, who was beside her, a glance. He evidently recognized this person who had rescued Belinda, causing a failure at the gates of victory. It was a pity that looks couldn't kill, else Leyland would have died countless times over. Leyland himself appeared aloof. The lord here had yet to speak. The beholder elder Bakelark cackled. "Keek. So you're the governor of Port Elias. I don't like the color of your pupils. Eyes like these are far too common amongst my collection. An elder eye and rank 5 sacrificer, eye-gouging butcher Bakelark." The governor quivered in fear as he called Bakelark's name. Upon hearing this nickname, even the Morning Star elders beside him took several steps back, evidently having heard of the notorious butcher. "You actually dare appear here? Could the new cycle of continental wars have begun already?" Evidently, Bakelark's appearance was a huge shock to him. "Keek, you seem too lenient. This is the territory of the matriarch and not of the powers of chaos. Even if I killed you, what could they do?" Bakelark waved his white tendrils. "Attack! Roar! Rarer! Awoo!" The large marine beasts roared clamorously, setting off tremendous waves that gushed towards the port. The guards could only watch, frozen as the sea rose tens of meters. They were then drowned by the furious waves. The marine legion that Bakelark had brought was evidently very powerful, and with the large marine beasts around to boost their morale, it was as if they had gained an absolute advantage in a flash. Port Elias immediately descended into chaos. Many sea merchants turned to pirating to take advantage of the situation, waiting for their chance to gain some profit. They only worsened the situation. "Keek! Henceforth, Port Elias shall become history." At this moment, the Elias governor and the rest did not have time to worry about the port any longer, because even they were in immense danger. With a rank 5 sacrificer like Bakelark taking the lead, they were surrounded by a group of rank 4 beings. "Nick, it's time for you to prove yourself. Choose your opponent and kill them," Bakelark exclaimed, obviously harboring evil intentions. Leyland inwardly rolled his eyes. The governor and the others were still rather powerful for Morning Stars, but they were the underdogs. With his current fake strength, even the weakest of that group could overpower him. Perhaps after he had been soundly beaten to death, he would even be easy pickings for Bakelark's subordinates. "Beast spirit magic summoning Godric." While cursing inside, Leyland still went forward, summoning a figure that looked like a large manta ray, a Godric. The Godric would be boosted greatly in the sea. While this beast spirit was only at rank 3, its mature form would have Morning Star strength, so it had a good foundation. With Leyland's secrets modifications, it was halfway at the threshold of rank 4. "Moo!" Blue waves splashed out from the Godric, enveloping the opponent with the hawk beak. "Kill them! Go!" As if this was a signal, light flashed fiercely on both sides, and many pounced forward for the kill. Bakelark leisurely ordered the large golden octopus to roam around the battlefield, as if searching for the opponent's weak point. This gave them immense pressure. "Soldier on. Once I've dealt with my opponents, I'll help you." Belinda's transmission sounded near Leyland's ear, and he couldn't help but laugh from on the back of the beast spirit. "However, the role I'm playing now is a mixed-blood alabaster devil snake who has just entered rank 4. Some things must stay secret. Just as well, let me test this beast spirit magic." Due to the lack of appropriate sacrifices, and not having made his decision yet, Leyland had yet to make any progress in the path of offerings. Beast spirit magic, on the other hand, was not as troublesome. The largest issue with training in the path of beast spirits was the strength of a beast spirit master's own soul and its capacity. There was also the resilience of the body, among other things, but all this wasn't an issue for Leyland. Magi were the most proficient at anything that had to do with spiritual force and the soul. Moo! Moo! The large Godric beast spirit disappeared under the sea, becoming a large shadow. Immense water pillars would gush out occasionally, and with Leyland's direction, the Godric exhibited strength even more terrifying than when it had been alive. It was even able to make things difficult for his morning star enemy. The one with an eagle beak was evidently a beast spirit master, and upon seeing Leyland's summoned Godric, his pupils shrank. The tattoo of a blue snake appeared on the back of his hand. "Beast spirit summon azure trench serpent." Dazzling rays of light exploded, and the azure tattoo disappeared into the sea, instantly turning into an enormous figure of a blue sea snake. "HSS!" The figure hissed, and engaged the Godric in a battle. In battle, while the azure trench serpent had the upper hand, the Godric could still persevere on. The summoner could not help but exclaim in his disbelief. "How is that possible? My azure trench serpent is a rank 4 beast spirit, while this Godric is obviously only rank 3. There are no weak beast spirits, only weak beast spirit masters. You're out of date, old man," Leyland exclaimed, acting like some hot-headed fellow while snickering inside. The process of sealing a beast spirit was very precise and painstaking, requiring the support of many diagrams. The higher the rank of the beast spirit, the more intricate the diagram for the seal would be required. Even if a grandmaster of spell formations were to do this, their chances of success would not exceed 50%, and they might not complete the seal perfectly, and could perhaps damage it. However, Leyland was different. Not only was he a grandmaster at spell formations himself, but he was also aided by the AI chip. He could perfectly seal a beast spirit every single time, with a 100% success rate. This meant that his beast spirits could utilize their full power when he summoned them. That was not all. With modifications by the AI chip, the Godric that had died immaturely as a rank 3 adolescent had gotten a great boost, basically making it on par with morning stars. With all these factors and Leyland's extremely meticulous work, the Godric could defend itself against the azure trench serpent, albeit with some difficulties. It performed the impressive feat of resisting a rank 4 beast spirit as a rank 3. However, that was the limit to what it could do. After all, there was a huge disparity between rank 3 and 4 that was difficult to surpass. No matter how close the Godric was to rank 4, it was not a true rank 4. No matter how battered the azure trench serpent became, it was still a rank 4 beast spirit, which was why Godric being able to stay on equal grounds, while obviously at a disadvantage, was a startling achievement. As for trying to kill the rank 4 spirit, that was something that couldn't even be considered. Leyland watched the scene and smiled wryly inside. This Godric's rank is far too low, and there are no cases of beast spirits advancing either. Its strength is limited to rank 3, which just isn't enough. I'll need to replace it immediately. Without taking cost into account, beast spirits at rank 4 or above needed the soul of a beast at Morning Star. This was enough for many large organizations to treat them as important strategic resources. Rank 1 to 3 beast spirits were common on the market, but rank 4s were very rare. Unless one entered some large organization and poured in blood, sweat, and tears to gain enough merit points and contributions, a rank 4 beast spirit was unattainable. Of course, beast spirit masters could opt to hunt large beasts on their own and extract the beast spirit. However, before even considering if they could complete such a technical task, How could one kill a large rank 4 beast using a group of rank 1 to 3 beast spirits, even if one was a master at extracting beast spirits? Hence, it was understandable why rank 4 beast spirits were so valued. Even the governor of the port, with his elevated and important status, only had one rank 4 beast spirit. However, not only do I have the strength of a rank 3 beast spirit master, I'm also a rank 5 warlock. Killing these rank 4 giant beasts and extracting their souls is just too easy. Leyland's eyes flashed. When it came to calculating strength in the purgatory world, one always looked at the highest rank. Bakelark, for example, might only be a rank 4 beholder, but he was also a rank 5 sacrificer under the trial's eye, which made him rank 5. He was comparable to a rank 5 radiant moon, Magus in the Magus world. Leyland's highest rank was a rank 5 warlock, and despite being weakened by the all-snake curse, it was no problem for him to kill rank 4 Morningstar beasts. With some prudent setup and some luck, he was confident he could kill even a rank 5 beast. If he could successfully seal a rank 5 beast spirit, then he would immediately become a rank 5 beast spirit master, catching up to his power as a warlock. Sealing beast spirits, augmenting the original soul, and then managing the beast spirits, then killing giant beasts to obtain more powerful beast spirits. This turns into a positive feedback cycle. As long as one's body is strong enough, advancing in the system of beast spirits in the purgatory world can be achieved fairly quickly. In reality, after sealing the Godric's beast spirit, Leyland could already feel the boost to his soul. Though his true soul had already reached half moon, and this tiny boost couldn't be considered much, it was a huge event for those rank 1, 2, and 3 magi. Refusal to budge and absolute defeat, sealing a rank 3 beast spirit could perhaps bring forward the advancement of a rank 2 magus to a rank 3 magus by 20 years. Leyland stroked his chin and began to ponder the AI chip's precise analysis of the situation. Of course, the strength of soul and body of an average rank 2 magus could never endure a seal from a rank 3 beast spirit, unless they were a warlock. Besides, there is a limit to the soul's capability and strength, which serves as a bottleneck to beast spirit techniques. As such, in the purgatory world, rank 6 beast spirit masters have never been seen, let alone anyone above that, either sacrificer or beast spirit master. At this time, the enemies were dumbfounded at the swift defeat of their rank 4 Azure Trench Serpent by the Godric. How could a rank 3 beast spirit contend with a rank 4? It shook their beliefs. Beast spirit summon, 4-winged bird. No matter how shocked and unwilling, they had to accept the reality. When the Azure Trench Serpent could no longer withstand the Godric's attacks, a tattoo flashed once again on the body of the hawk-nosed man. A giant 4-winged bird emerged from him, wind elemental particles around its body circulating ferociously to form a violent energy, a wind blade. A giant pale green light blade split the ocean apart, revealing the silhouettes of the Godric and the Azure Trench Serpent, battling it out. Upon seeing that the Godric could not be beaten, the enemy once again called upon their rank 3 4-winged bird. When it was coupled with the Azure Trench Serpent, Leyland's Godric was caught in a tough battle. The wind blade sliced its body apart over and over, if not for having transformed into a beast spirit, blood would have been gushing from its wounds. Even as a beast spirit, the Godric's voice gradually grew more muffled, and its soul dulled. Indeed, when beast spirits are involved, a rank 3 fighting head-on against a rank 4 is kind of a stretch. Leyland vaguely swept his eyes across the field. At this moment, Belinda was already fighting her opponent in their own small battlefield. Not entering the stage himself, Bakelark focused on the governor of Elias, occasionally turning with a hint of gloating in his eyes. What a narrow-minded and prejudiced old fool! Leyland was filled with disgust, and he secretly afforded him the death penalty. I can't use my energy and magic as a warlock, which extends to the Chemian Emperor magic. I can only hide myself by using alabaster devil snake magic. A thought flashed across Leyland's mind, and a layer of white scales emerged from his body. With the mask of the Dreamless and an alabaster devil snake bloodline, it would be difficult for anyone, even Belinda, to discover that his abilities were just an imitation. Beep. Host is currently using alabaster devil snake bloodline. Scale simulation accuracy at 99.99%. Vitality and defense have increased. Dreamforce has strengthened. The AI chip's voice transmitted over. Having completed the transformation, Leyland's body was covered in a layer of delicate white scales, and sharp fingernails burst forth from his hand. The scarlet tint in his eyes seemed to grow deeper and purer. "Devil snake bloodline," the enemy shouted. "Die!" Leyland shouted, a white phantom as he launched towards them. His sharp claws chilled the air. Though he was confident in his own disguise, fake was fake. He was bound to leave a clue with the passage of time, so it would be good to end the fight quickly. "Damned hybrid!" The hawk-nosed man opposing Leyland glowed red with anger, and he started hitting himself in the chest. A faint blue circle sprouted blue flames that engulfed his body, and a hard mane grew on his face. "Beast Spirit Union, rank 3 Blue Flame Phantom Wolf." At the lowest point, the opposing Beast Spirit Master had already completed the union, turning into a half-man, half-wolf monster. His energy grew tremendously. "Blue Flame Phantom Wolf." It seems to be some kind of advanced creature, powerful with fire and close combat. It's strong physically, too. Leyland managed to identify the beast spirit's characteristics from an archive he'd found on the market. He also remembered its strengths and weaknesses. A beast spirit master at rank 4 or above could fuse with his beast spirit, using some secret techniques to acquire the abilities of the beast spirit they'd sealed. With an increasing number of beast spirit, the beast spirit master became more terrifying as well. This technique solved the problem of a weak body, so much so that one could say that without it any beast spirit's value would be halved. Ow! Blue flame covered the enemy's palm, one that had already turned into a furry paw. It looked like a layer of glass. The giant wolf claw shot out, sharp and on fire. He charged violently towards the white phantom. A huge explosion sounded in the air, and a flash blinded onlookers. Leyland and his opponent retreated, and a few white scales fell to the ground with blue fur. Borrowed strength is still borrowed strength. Even if I were to use the rank 4 giant Chemian serpent power, I could defeat him easily. Leyland's eyes filled with pity, and his opponent grew furious. This half-snake, half-human wielded massive power, able to fight on par with and sometimes overpower a rank 4 beast spirit master. He hadn't gained much of an advantage from the four-winged bird, and it was obvious that this battle would continue for some time. However, that would prove fatal in this battle. Belinda would come upon ending her own fight, and even otherwise Beauclerc's presence shook his confidence in being able to defend Port Elias. At this time, the battle at the port was already near its end. Engulfed in thick smoke, the port was left in tatters, with large paw prints all over the once bustling street. Walls everywhere were destroyed, and the road was steeped in blood. Obviously, Beauclerc had made meticulous plans so that the backup team at the port couldn't fight back. In this instant, unless a rank 6 warrior joined the fight, their defeat was inevitable. Unfortunately, they were near the Hale Continent's coast. This was the territory of the Snake Dowager, and the nefarious Filthbird sending a high-ranked warrior here would be a command of suicide. As the battle on the ground drew to a close, the battle in the sky ended as well. "The alabaster devil snake devours!" Belinda's applause sounded as a giant alabaster devil snake phantom emerged, its scarlet eyes focused on a broken-armed Filthbird phantom from a sacrifice. A dark red mist filled the surroundings, bringing with it a psychic power that instilled fear into even the Morning Star fighters. They did everything they could to avoid it. This dream force posed a threat to those that hadn't come in contact with or couldn't comprehend dreamscape. In the meantime, this nefarious Filthbird who Belinda was focused on melted like wax into a mixture of blood and fat. "Nick, hold on!" The giant alabaster devil snake phantom suddenly turned and charged towards Leyland. "Finally! I just had to endure for a little while and Belinda's come to help. She's defeated her own opponent and I won't have to reveal anything else." With everything within control, Leyland let out a smile, expressing his relief. The enemy's eyes were filled with despair, and he gave up the fight with Leyland. The azure trench serpent was forcefully ordered to retreat. Blocking Leyland's path, he jumped onto the back of the giant four-winged bird, ready to escape. "Trying to run away?" An icy voice came from under the alabaster devil snake phantom. "Dream on." Under the enormous alabaster devil snake, the azure trench serpent looked negligible and weak. Even Leyland could not help but feel pity for him. Leyland's opponent escaping was a signal to the others. After seeing their comrade flee, the rest of the Morning Star Guards were prompted to plan their escape too, and the governor of Elias was no exception. A rank 4 beast spirit master on top of being a rank 4 sacrificer, he could unleash the full power of Morning Star. If not for Bakelark, the fight would have been much easier for him. Unfortunately, this giant elder eye set his eyes upon him the moment they met. "Let me handle him. You try to block the other nefarious filthbird followers." The elder eye's soul force radiated outwards, and he wrapped himself and the governor up completely. What a ruthless and vicious way to claim victory. Leyland was left completely speechless, and he took the initiative to retreat backwards and gave up the battlefield to others. Puppet and Dark forces after the fierce battle, the Morning Star military were all injured and had wholeheartedly broken out from the enemy's siege. Without having any fight left in them, they had put in so much work for nothing. Leyland chose to withdraw at this moment, a selfless and noble model of action that many were grateful to emulate. Of course, there were some who took him for a fool, but Leyland paid no heed to this and expressionlessly retreated to the back to rest and watch the great battle. Although our enemies continue to battle half-heartedly, if they can't find a way out, a fight to the death with them would be frightening. The most important thing is that I am not a follower of the Trial's Eye, so there is no incentive for me to risk my life for this battle. Leyland shook his head and formed his own thoughts. And now is the chance. AI chip, execute plan 1. Beep. Mission established. Initiating plan. Intelligent body number 1 is ready. The AI chip replied faithfully. Very good, undo the bloodline seal. With Leyland's will, his body's formerly dormant bloodline power became berserk. Although the 1,000-snake curse had absorbed a lot of bloodline power, the strength of a rank 5 warlock could still awaken in Leyland. This feeling is the strength of a warlock. Shadow puppet. Leyland almost wanted to roar loudly, but managed to hold back. This was urgent after all, and a spell formation was transferred out immediately. A shadow puppet that looked exactly like Leyland began to take shape, and with the help of AI chip, it simulated Leyland so perfectly to life, to the point where even acquaintances could not differentiate between the two, let alone these strangers. The enormous shadow of a serpent emerged like a black arrow shooting out from under the surface of the sea where Leyland was standing, and quickly disappeared into the deep sea. Due to the secretive nature of the giant snake, with the help of the power of the shadow, those fixated on the battlefield failed to notice anything. The evil king's true eye, death ray? At this time, the battlefield had reached its climax. Several guardians tried to flee but were stopped, and the war continued. In the core of the battle, an enormous illusory shadow of a beholder emerged. The elder beholder Bakelark demonstrated the power of its innate skill, which was stronger than the power displayed by Jigerdole. Not only did its phantom look real, the death ray that emerged from its pupils was also substantial, with a strong aura of death. My Lord Flapwing, the ruler of chaos, please watch over us and come to the aid of your loyal subjects, and resolve our current predicament. In the face of this death light, even the governor of Elias did not dare to be careless. In the midst of the high-spirited chanting, the bird dignitary behind the governor unleashed an enormous gray-colored power, without even asking for the slightest sacrifice. This was also the privilege of a rank 4 sacrificer. They were able to receive power first, then sacrifice later. The gray power was all over the governor's body, not only suppressing all his injuries but steadily flowing into the body of the nighthawk under him. Oh, oh. Accompanied by loud and clear cries of the hawk, the giant nighthawk seemed to be covered in an extra layer of gray feathers. Its body even enlarged considerably and began to change from its original form as a nighthawk, transforming into the appearance of the bird dignitary. After the transformation, the nighthawk's aura became even more powerful, and its aura even suggested a breakthrough from rank 4. With a terrifying gale, it suddenly charged into the death ray. A massive red ray of light exploded with a faint roar, and even those with the strength of Morning Star could not look directly at it. From the core of the explosion, a few pieces of gray feathers seemed to float down softly. After the glare had dissipated, the nighthawk flew back to the governor. It barely suffered any visible injuries, but the death ray from earlier had disappeared without a trace. Ha! Using both sacrificer and beast spirit magic to this level, Governor, you are pretty good. Bakelark seemed to be rather surprised and said, Your eyes are now worthy of being in my collection. While emitting the soul undulations, the shadow of the Trial's Eye emerged from behind Bakelark, along with gold lightning flickering midair. Trial's Eye! Trial's Eye! Trial's Eye! The friction from the thunder and lightning caused a sizzling sound, along with the faint whistle of a gale. The sounds all came together to form a deafening roar. As strong trial force descended through an unknown channel, Belinda and other priests were affected, seemingly reaping benefits from that. Hea, the gap between ranks renders all efforts futile. I am still a rank 5 sacrificer, and I can unleash a little trial power. Under the Lord's trial, everything will be burnt to ashes. Bakelark looked incredibly pious as he made the announcement, which seemed more like a declaration. With that, a golden light fell and swept away the gray power. The gray power clashed with the golden light, and like snow melting away from the sun, it quickly began dissipating. The Elia's governor's face turned deathly pale as he watched this scene. The reason why this had happened was not because the filthbird was not as good as the trial's eye, but it was due to their sacrificers being of different ranks, resulting in the different level of power being called upon. The ranking of the sacrificers were of the same as the Magi, with an insurmountable chasm between each rank. If a rank 4 sacrificer's communication channel was like a river, then the rank 5 sacrificer's communication channel was like the ocean. The quality and quantity were unrivaled. Therefore, Elia's governor's defeat was inevitable. Dignitary, my clan and my dream will all fail just like this. The great trial power, even when it was isolated to this area, made the transmission of the filthbird's power much more difficult. It even severed his final escape route. The governor immediately looked all around him and was utterly devastated at the sight of their soldiers' and elder guards' defeat. The time where he had come to the Hale continent and established the colonial base was filled with hardships. The subsequent crises where he had faced life or death choices all came back to him, and the governor went into a trance-like state. This sort of situation happening to this formidable person was almost unconceivable. "Ha, have you lost all hope? Heathen, I'll completely restrict your ability and then complete the final ritual. With your physical qualities, you might give me a pleasant surprise." Bakelark laughed sinisterly, and suddenly 3 vertical eyes widened. That's wrong. In this instant, he hadn't slipped into his fantasies of his own accord, but this is Dreamforce, retreat. A massive force of trial power flowed into Bakelark like a golden electrical current, forcing out traces of a dark red fog. It was then that Bakelark discovered they had already been surrounded by a layer of dark red fog. It was also because of the influence of Dreamforce that made the governor of Elias see illusions. "Belinda, Nick, what are you both doing?" Under the influence of the dreamland, even Bakelark's men displayed a certain degree of a trance-like state, allowing some important targets to escape. Upon seeing this, Bakelark immediately burst out shouting, "What's going on? Is there someone from the same clan here?" Nick looked at this scene in shock. His eyes were filled with surprise. The shadow puppet and AI chip's intelligence worked together, vividly projecting Leyland's gestures and actions. No. This ability to connect to Dreamforce is not a mixed blood's ability. This was the work of a pure-blooded alabaster devil snake. Belinda also recovered from her trance, but the price was the opponent fleeing the battlefield, though now she couldn't pay any attention to that. Although some of the mixed-blood alabaster devil snake had the ability to connect to the dreamscape, when it was so large-scale and it could even pulled Bakelark into its illusory trap, it could not be the work of a mixed blood. Belinda was very sure of this. Belinda shuddered at what this could mean. Even if they were a direct descendant of the matriarch, is it possible for them to fight against the filthbird? Perhaps they have fully matured, otherwise they absolutely couldn't have concealed themselves from Lord Bakelark. Thinking of this, Belinda quietly moved to Nick's side. "Something is wrong. Take care of yourself and pay attention to my command." Belinda whispered to Nick secretly. "Do not worry. I know we don't have to force ourselves. If we face a pure-blooded noble, the bloodline suppression would be enough to make us lose most of our strength." The AI chip's imitation of Nick was filled with a look of worry. "Who is that? Come out!" Golden lightning swept across, and the increasingly concentrated red fog tangled together continuously. It was very obvious that after the initial rage and shock, Bakelark also realized that the huge amount of power used to summon Dreamforce could not have been the work of Belinda and Nick, both rank 4 mixed blood. To its knowledge, this could only be done by a mature alabaster devil snake or a pale devil clan member. Also, the pale devils had always been loyal to the direct descendants of the snake dowager. The meaning behind these actions aroused the suspicion of Belinda and Bakelark. With loud rumbling sounds, the Crimson Dreamforce began to stick together, forming a few red silhouette which surrounded Bakelark and the rest. "Let's go!" A giant force pulled the governor and several other survivors into the red fog. Captivity and escape watching the governor of Elias and the other survivors scurrying to flee the waters, Leyland revealed a trace of an evil smile. There was no doubt that Leyland was responsible for secretly constructing the massive field of Dreamforce. Originally, due to the restrictions of Dreamforce, although Leyland was familiar with most of the Dreamscape spell formations below rank 5, he was ineffective in bringing out its full power. However, with the appearance of Belinda and the rank 5 Alabaster Devil Snake's bloodline on the mask of the Dreamless, Leyland met the necessary requirements to do this. The Alabaster Devil Snake had the ability to connect to the Dreamscape, and through the analysis of Belinda's energy pathways, Leyland was able to quickly familiarize himself with the details of doing this. Belinda was completely not wary of Nick. Since he was one of them, it was relatively easy to gather intelligence or scan her system. Taking the next few steps would now be simpler. Leyland, who had secretly escaped from the battle, had decided to draw on the Alabaster Devil Snake's bloodline and summon a huge wave of Dreamforce, saving Elias, Governor, and the others in a single move. After all, compared to the Snake Dowager and Trial's Eye, the nefarious Filthbird was still an ally, and Leyland had to be more considerate when it came to the Filthbird's power. In addition, there was still a need for him to keep in contact with the nefarious Filthbird, hence he could not risk performing poorly now. To conceal his identity, the Dreamforce was clearly the best choice, and the blame could even be placed on the Alabaster Devil Snake's clan, which killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Benevolence has been shown, and next, time for the greetings. Leyland stared coldly at the center of the huge dark red fog. Within it came a huge golden flash of lightning, which seemed to pierce the sky like a sword, carving out a terrifying channel. "Who exactly are you? Why do you want to rescue the governor and the others?" Golden thunder filled with overwhelming trial power surrounded Bakelark completely. The crimson wall of fog exploded in an instant, revealing an indistinct figure. What appeared in front of them was a giant over 5 meters tall, whose body was enveloped in the crimson fog. The overwhelming Dreamforce formed into a malevolent-looking armor on the giant. There were dark red spirals on the surface of the armor, which once again gathered shattered pieces of Dreamforce. "I'm obviously here to take your life." An oppressive voice came from the fog giant. Bakelark's face darkened upon hearing the rude answer. "I will kill this shady fellow." Although the fog giant possessed a powerful aura, it had failed to break through to the realm of rank 5. Bakelark was relieved at this discovery. Shortly after, Bakelark got more frustrated at this thing. It was unforgivable to disturb the great Bakelark when he was enjoying his games. Also, its behavior was so secretive, which unexpectedly corresponded with what Bakelark had in mind. He had always considered Leyland as a powerful member of the Alabaster Devil Snake's clan, and his presence in the coastal area of Hale Continent, as well as his rescue of the nefarious Filthbird's disciples, put Bakelark in a tough position. It was much simpler now that this fog giant did not reveal its identity. Bakelark could treat this thing as hostile and exterminate it. Thereafter, Bakelark instantly used his greatest attack. True Eye of the Evil Monarch, Death Ray. A more terrifying death ray than before shot out from its eyes. The golden ray of lightning filled with overwhelming trial power faintly enhanced the death ray. From afar, the death ray resembled a powerful rifle with a handle decorated with gold lines, with a sense of determined and courageous advancement, and it fired directly towards Leyland. A blitzkrieg strategy. A strategy to resolve everything in the shortest period of time. Great. Leyland looked at Bakelark's performance, nodding in agreement as if this was also his plan. After all, Bakelark was a rank 5 sacrificer. Leyland feared that this opponent would have a hidden ace up its sleeves, and it would be an even more incredible feat if Bakelark managed to summon a clone of the Trial's Eye. They had only used a portion of the dignitary's power in the previous battles. If Bakelark had called out a clone with the main body's intelligence, Leyland did not have the confidence to keep up his pretense. "Its power is rather good. It's comparable to a rank 5's killing move." Watching the approaching death ray, Leyland evaluated the situation calmly. But the strange thing was that although there was only a small distance between him and the death ray, it never seemed to hit its target. This feeling of confusion sickened Bakelark to the point where it wanted to throw up blood. Although Leyland had sealed his bloodline and had the all-snake curse absorbing his bloodline energy, he had now been restored to full strength. He possessed the power to usurp the blazing monarch. For Leyland, the fact was that Bakelark was just an ordinary rank 5 and therefore insufficiently strong. To capture Bakelark, I must hide my true identity. The only thing I can use is the alabaster devil snake's bloodline and dream force. Leyland glanced at Bakelark as though he was looking at an ant and said, "You have the privilege of having a taste of the power of a former peak-ranked radiant moon Magus." For a moment, Bakelark was rather puzzled, but his attention immediately turned to Leyland's hand that emitted brightly colored rays of light. It was fascinated by the countless streaks and fast-moving spell formations. Bleep, alabaster devil snake bloodline depleting, drawing energy from the dreamscape. With the AI chip's reminder, the golden red lines on the mask of the dreamless faded a little, and immediately Leyland's true soul connected to an incredible world. A violent wave of dream force surged and converged on Leyland. The power that formed was enough to shake the heavens. Rank 5 Dreamscape Spell Formation, Splendid Lunar Illusion. Leyland's currently strongest Dreamscape spell formation, which could trap even Breaking Dawn Magi, burst out violently. Dreamlike undulations spread out suddenly, and Belinda and others were the first to space out, glassy-eyed. Bakelark bore the brunt of the attack and lost vision in its 3 giant vertical eyes, and even the energy shield on its body dissipated. Splendid Lunar Illusion. Utilized by Leyland, the AI chip's projected dreamscape spell formation was able to penetrate through all defenses, directly transporting the opponent's true soul into the dreamscape with a 90% attack accuracy against a radiant moon Magus. Bakelark was clearly not a strong rank 5, and after getting hit by the splendid lunar illusion, had completely lost all its will to fight. "Let's go." Leyland's silhouette instantly appeared in front of the despondent Bakelark, and many seal charms entered into its body, the most important point being its now sealed 3 giant vertical eyes. When the seal was complete, the place where Bakelark was standing initially was left with only a huge iron chain sphere. Beep. Hidden triple seal complete. True seal has been completely sealed. Dreamscape seal has completely penetrated. The target's energy undulations. 0. AI chip returned the updated information from the scan. Leyland held onto one end of the iron chain, his whole body instantly changing into a long crimson streak, as he was dragged by the iron ball to leave this place at lightning speed. Belinda and the other morning stars only recovered after the red streak disappeared from the horizon. "This is too scary. Is this the power of a pure blood? I have a premonition that if I were to face that power, my true soul would probably be forever stuck in the dreamscape, never to return to my body." Belinda's eyes blurred, and she was shocked by a loud scream. "Lord Bakelark! Lord Bakelark!" Lord Bakelark was captured by the attacker. Another morning star shrieked with sorrow, reminding Belinda of their current predicament. Although the operation had been very smooth in the beginning, their main target, the governor, had escaped, and even their commander had been taken away. This was the utmost insult to their dignitary, the trial's eye. It was highly likely that everyone involved would be punished. Being frozen was considered the most lenient punishment. Belinda felt bitter and bewildered about her future. "Don't worry, Belinda. No matter what happens, I'll always help you." At this time, a familiar figure came over. Nick gave a smile that warmed Belinda's heart. With Nick's support and encouragement, Belinda regained her strength. "Everyone," she stepped forward with great strength, looking over her panicking comrades. "Things have happened. Whatever we do now will be useless. The most important thing we have to do is to report this back to the headquarters and inform them of this incident. A loss of a rank 5 sacrificer is enough to alert the Master of Order. Now, we can only wait." The role of a leader was important in times of crisis. Those morning star warriors left the ocean surface with the sea creatures and soldiers as if they were awakening from a dream. They did not seem too concerned about the ruined Port Elias. From Nick's point of view, they just wanted to find a scapegoat. Belinda being here was just what they needed, being able to pin all responsibilities and blames on her. After all, by the time the headquarters sent someone to here, Belinda would draw most suspicion. Her alabaster devil snake bloodline would make her an easy target. It seems that even with the dignitary's influence, corruption was unavoidable. The intellectual body of Nick looked coldly at this scene. Giant tortoise and sacrifice asterisk swish. A brilliant blood-red arc of light cut through the air, wiping out the massive flames. The outside world looked extremely distorted from within it, and it gave one a momentary feeling of isolation. It was clear that this streak was moving at great speeds. The ray of light vanished in an instant and all became still, but it did not seem too abrupt. A black silhouette revealed itself, and beneath it was an enormous iron hammer with many iron chains firmly sealing a large number of runes. This place is at least 1,000 miles away from Port Elias. It should be far enough. This was naturally Leyland. After snatching Bakelark, he had been afraid of arousing too much suspicion, so he'd used a lot of concealment and bewitching spells, quickly fleeing from the scene. Although he did not know how much effect the spells he cast had, it was always better than nothing. Leyland finally let out a sigh of relief after making sure that he'd fled this far without being followed. However, for the sake of safety, I should settle this as quickly as possible. Leyland's figure descended unhurriedly, arriving at a lonely island. This island was very small and was comparable to a single drop of water in the middle of the vast ocean. It also looked desolate, with no vegetation or fresh water sources that could be found. However, Leyland nodded his head in satisfaction, especially after sweeping the area with his sole force. This should be a good place, especially as it keeps moving. While laughing softly, Leyland lightly stamped his right foot, causing the ground to hum. A tremor was sent through his foot, which grew larger and ended up forming a small earthquake and a tsunami. Rumble-broken rocks rolled over the coral reef, and a small fissure appeared. By the time the earthquake had calmed a little, even stronger vibrations began to sound out. An oppressive hiss from an animal, like the cry of a dragon or the roar of a tiger, sounded out from the dark sea. Crash, all of a sudden, Leyland's isolated island began to move. The black rock rose higher and higher from the sea, with kelp and black shells attached to it. In the end, the small island became a huge and irregular piece of circular land. Crash on one side of the island, numerous rocks fell to the bottom of the sea, revealing a large, pitch-black hole. Promptly, a snake-like head stretched out from this hole. The howl from earlier had evidently come from this monster's throat. Its body was immense, and its eyelids were still covered in algae and green moss. Beep. High-energy undulations have been discovered. Scan completed. Accompanying the AI chip's voice, a complete image of this monster had already been projected in front of Leyland. This monster was an impressively huge tortoise whose length reached tens of thousands of meters. Leyland's island was actually part of its shell, and since the monster had been floating motionlessly for far too long, it had started to show vestiges of life. It's a miracle of life, or should it be called the beauty of this world? It really is quite fascinating. Leyland murmured a few words of praise. This type of giant tortoise could sleep for thousands of years at a time. If this island had been discovered by ignorant people, even a city could have developed on the tortoise's back. Good day, Your Excellency. Sorry to disturb your rest. I was wondering if you could give me a ride. I'll be sure to make it up to you later. The AI chip had determined the giant tortoise to be rank 4, but it still had to be subservient to him when faced with his half-moon Trussel. Thus, it began to slowly move through the depths of the sea. Very good, Leyland nodded his head, and his body automatically descended into the bottom floor of the coral island. It was as if the floor had melted under him. A moving target is clearly less likely to be discovered. Now, I have to dispose of this fellow, lest it becomes a hidden danger. Soon after, a small yellow light radiated out to clear out an expansive underground space. The walls fused to become a marble-like material, the structure evidently stable. Leyland sat cross-legged on the dry floor, with a very solemn expression on his face. AI chip, transfer the content on the Purgatory World Sacrificers. Beep. Establishing task, commencing transfer. Along with the AI chip's feedback, a large amount of data was very quickly gathered and saved in Leyland's memory bank. The Path of Offerings had a very long history in the Purgatory world, and had become the main strength system after many years of decisions. In the past, Leyland had believed that this kind of sacrifice was a technique from the world of gods. However, there seemed to be evidence that the technique had appeared before the end of the Great War. Although the origin of the Path of Offering could not be verified, it had gone through such a long period of development that it was very rich in core content. The so-called sacrificers offered sacrifices to a higher existence, which required that the receiver have some comprehension of laws. This way, amplification power could be sent down through their subconscious communication channels. The higher existence would amplify the sacrificer's strength. Even if it was for a limited time, it was still an extraordinary thing. With the correct sacrifice, it was possible to almost borrow the power indefinitely. Assuming the sacrificer could endure it, of course. The sacrificer's rank could be improved through continuous sacrifices, and once they reached rank 4, they could perform a ceremony to permanently increase their attributes. After the ceremony, the sacrificer would be branded by their chosen dignitary, and their sacrifices wouldn't be accepted by others. After many amplifications, the sacrificer could receive power that surpassed their race. Take the governor of Elias, for example. His physical prowess exceeded even Melinda, who was a mixed blood rank 4 alabaster devil snake. Furthermore, not only could rank 4 sacrificers borrow power first and sacrifice later, they could also try to summon a clone of their dignitary. From what Leyland understood, the sacrifice represented the limits of what you could get from the dignitary. So high-level sacrifices meant receiving greater attention and a quicker response from the dignitary. This was why he had to run far away after capturing Bakelark. Since he was a rank 5 sacrificer, he was sure to capture the attention of the trial's eye. A rank 5 sacrificer could even borrow a tiny bit of the power of laws from their exemplary, such as the golden lightning and trial power. Relying on that, Bakelark was not weak for a rank 5. Leyland's own strength just surpassed his greatly. According to the AI chip speculations, a rank 6 sacrificer can borrow the dignitary's power over laws. It would be possible to borrow up to 90% of this power if the sacrificer and the dignitary are highly compatible. Their strength would surpass the power of the blazing flame monarch. Leyland's expression became rather imposing. Of course, the path of sacrifices has its disadvantages as well. After all, the power of laws can only be borrowed and not retained. No matter how harmonious the relationship is, sacrificers cannot rely on this to reach rank 7. Those dignitaries won't allow others to grasp their laws. Therefore, rank 6 is the peak for a sacrificer. However, there may be exceptions. As if he had thought of something, the corners of Leyland's mouth curved into an excited smile, and his entire being seemed to be eager to try something. Beep. Transmission of sacrificial array has been completed. A complex spell formation formed in Leyland's mind. This was not just the sacrificial array he had recorded, but one that he had modified and optimized with the AI chip. Not only could it accept more sacrificial power, but it could also minimize any loss. If Leyland was willing to sell this modified version, it would make him extremely rich. Of course, he wouldn't do such a thing. The decisions made in the first sacrifice are incredibly important, and the offering is a crucial point. The better the offering of the first sacrifice, the more attention and benefits will be given by the dignitary. Leyland's spatial pouch flashed, and many resources appeared. He began to draw the modified sacrificial array, whose power surpassed the purgatory world's most powerful secret techniques. It was all thanks to the AI chip and the enormous amount of labor and resources that Leyland had poured into it. Also, after arranging the sacrificial array, Leyland looked at the surrounding walls and swept his palms across them. Layer upon layer of blood-red lightning runes automatically emerged. Summoning across worlds, powerful binding, annihilation ray, breath isolation, location interference. A great number of advanced ancient runes steadily emerged on the wall, which were the same standard as those used in astral laboratories. Although Leyland was prepared to practice the path of offerings, it was still necessary to be cautious. By the time he was finished, he looked a little tired even though his soul force was still frighteningly vast. Crash, the black runic chain was broken, exposing the elder eye Bakelark within. Bakelark's soul force was currently sealed, to the point where he couldn't even express himself. His 3 vertical pupils were filled with terror. "We meet again, Elder Bakelark." Leyland faced Bakelark and greeted it. Bakelark trembled in fear when he saw Leyland, especially after he noticed the sacrificial array. Beep. Sacrificial array has been completed. Simulated success rate is 100%. At this moment, the AI chip transmitted some information. Heals and restoration sacrificial array completed. Please choose the target of the sacrifice. Several strange symbols emerged on the AI chip screen. These symbols seemed to transcend the three-dimensional screen, possessing a strangely ancient feeling, with an aura of the power of laws. Leyland looked silently at these runes. The AI chip illustrated 7 runes in total, one for each continent's dignitaries. Among the 7, there were a few that Leyland was naturally familiar with. A vertical eye rune, a twisting snake rune, and a rune of a giant bird spreading its wings. Trial's Eye, Snake Dowager, and the nefarious Filth Bird. Leyland murmured the names of the 3 dignitaries represented by the runes. These 3 had left the deepest impression on Leyland, albeit not the most pleasant ones. Sacrifice target selection, Nefarious Filth Bird. Leyland held out his hand and lightly touched the rune of the giant bird spreading its wings. The rune was, almost instantly, copied into the previously empty core of the sacrificial array. A foul and chaotic power seemed to have penetrated the barrier through deep and unknown channels, reaching this place. Threads of gray mist lingered above the array, and it was possible to hear faint crowing sounds coming from within. Seeing this scene, even though he was firmly sealed, Bakelark's body reacted slightly in anticipation of a fight. After all, being sacrificed to the Order of the Eye's greatest enemy was unacceptable to this pious believer. Unfortunately, no one would listen to the barking of a loser, be it in Leyland's previous life or in the Magus world. Almighty ruler of chaos, the Flapwing, the free will that soars in countless dimensions. I, Leyland Farlier, call you reverently. Leyland chanted in the complex and obscure ritualistic language, which created faint undulations of soul force. From the movements of the soul force, the ritual language acted like a mysterious key which opened a giant door somewhere. The entire sacrificial array rumbled, and the giant bird rune seemingly came to life and let out an elated chirp. A large amount of gray light condensed, and the space seemed to faintly warp. When it finally reached the limit, it loudly exploded. Crash! A gray flame suddenly emerged from the core of the sacrificial array. Almighty dignitary, Your Excellency the nefarious Filth Bird. Please accept my offering. Leyland's eyes held a trace of indifference, and the beholder on the ground was pulled into the core of the array by an invisible string. Rumble, the little flames suddenly grew to engulf the entire beholder. Ah! I curse you! Curse you! In the gray flame, the huge beholder began to melt like a wax sculpture. Even his trousseau was corroded. Leyland could still hear Bakelark's dying curses ringing in his ears. Just this sort of thing could not change his expression even slightly. Leyland's eyes, however, were fully absorbed in the sacrificial process, and he occasionally still made adjustments. It was very clear that for a beginner sacrificer, it was nearly impossible to get a strong rank 5 being as an offering, let alone a beholder who was a rank 5 sacrificer of the Trial's Eye. The original sacrificial array that Leyland had bought in Port Elias wasn't anything special. Although it was enough to get someone to rank 4, it was inadequate for the current situation. When the beholder elder was completely melted, a horrifying energy overflowed from the wax, while an unbearable lamenting cry sounded from the sacrificial array. Really? Leyland speechlessly shook his head and proceeded to further strengthen the array with his soul force. Since this was a high-level sacrifice, the laws of the world had finally been attracted when the beholder was almost completely melted. The high-spirited chirps of a bird followed. Then, the runes set in place by Leyland began to flash explosively. Some of them even started to fall apart. In the end, the sacrificial array produced a piercing light. The gray flame became scarlet red in a flash, and the blood-curdling screeches of the beholder elder increased in pitch. Bang! The blood-red flames completely swallowed up Bakelark, a rank 5 sacrificer and elder eye. A huge amount of wax concentrated into a ball, constantly twisting and changing shape, while it broiled within the scarlet-red flames. Finally, it became a clever-looking little gray bird. We meet again, Almighty Flapwing, Your Excellency the nefarious Filth Bird. This was obviously the nefarious Filth Bird's clone, and Leyland bowed in greeting without delay. The little gray bird's eyes were rather glassy, but soon it was occupied by an intelligent personality. It looked at Leyland, its eyes expressing an obvious smile. We meet again, Snake Dowager's blood descendant, Kem-In Serpent Emperor. A greatly changed and mechanical voice rang directly in the bottom of Leyland's heart. The little gray bird fluttered its wings, while seemingly very interested. I am very satisfied with your offering, but your heart still seems to harbor some distrust. The bird obviously pointed towards the strong binding and isolation runes on the walls. Leyland just smiled slightly. Please forgive your humble subject's precautions. However, I believe that for a mighty dignitary like yourself, these are just like fine rain and cannot harm you at all. Sly little fellow, you act as though this isn't the first time you summon me. Nonetheless, I sense leftover marks of the Trial's Eyes contracts. The little gray bird said this with certainty, after sniffing Leyland's body. Leyland's eyes flashed with an expression of sudden understanding. This must have been back when he was a rank 1 Magus, and he used the nefarious Filthbird feather solution to clear the Trial's Eyes contract. But after improving his knowledge, Leyland was sure that the nefarious Filthbird feather solution was merely some kind of medicine's name. The main material was definitely not the feather of this entity, otherwise no one would let Leyland use it. Certainly, the Trial's Eyes contracts used by rank 1 and rank 2 magi were not high-level due to limits of these magi's strengths. Thus, they could still be erased by Leyland's accidental use of the nefarious Filthbird feather solution. Although he had only borrowed a millionth of the bird's power, the bird still keenly perceived it. Yes, at the time, I was able to break the bonds of the Trial's Eyes. I need to thank the dignitary for your power. Leyland respectfully expressed his thanks. You don't need to thank me, young man. Breaking the bonds of the Trial's Eye is my mission and duty. As a result of this introduction, the nefarious Filthbird regarded Leyland with much gentler eyes. You did the right thing. If you had not immediately offered this sacrificer, the Trial's Eye would have found you within 10 hourglasses' time. At this point, the nefarious Filthbird sent another message. Now it can no longer find you. Furthermore, everything that pertains to you will be concealed by chaos and filth, thanks to my power of chaos here. After hearing this, Leyland's expression relaxed considerably. As expected, to fight against a dignitary, Leyland could only borrow the power of another one. The nefarious Filthbird's concealment made his earlier risks worth the trouble. So, Magus, tell me your request. The nefarious Filthbird spread its wings, looking incomparably solemn. Almighty ruler of chaos, please, may I ask if it is possible for you to remove the all-snake curse from my body? Leyland restrained the excitement in his heart and asked in a dignified voice. The all-snake curse comes from the snake dowager. We are of the same rank, so I am unable to completely remove it. The little gray bird shook its head, but just when Leyland became disappointed, it continued. However, the power of chaos is enough to postpone the flare-up from the curse. Do you want to suppress it? Please go ahead. Leyland gnashed his teeth. It went without saying that entering the purgatory world was already a risk, so he would not reject this offer. This seal will consume half of the sacrifice's power. The little gray bird looked deeply into Leyland's eyes, and shortly after the terrifying gray power of chaos began to pour into Leyland's body. The immense power of chaos spread through his skin and flesh, then extending to his sea of consciousness and soul. Beep. Invading energy detected, eliminate. A red warning box popped up from the AI chip. No, Leyland gnashed his teeth, but continue monitoring. Removing resistance, initiating monitoring mode. The AI chip dutifully sent back. A great quantity of chaotic power spread through Leyland's body. In the end, it converged in his forehead, forming a silver seal around it. The all-snake curse seemingly squirmed, but very soon it was suppressed by the vast amount of chaotic power. Beep. The all-snake curse's seal has been reinforced. Estimated time to outbreak, 20 years. Leyland's status box was very quickly refreshed with new information. The host sacrificer rank has risen. Current sacrificer target, the nefarious Filthbird. Rank 4, detecting that the host's bloodline power has been released, the sacrifice strength has increased as well. Host stats have fluctuated greatly, recollecting data. Soon, the AI chip showed the new stats. Leyland Farlier, rank 5 Magus bloodline. Chem-In Serpent Emperor complete form. Strength, 5176, agility, 4662, vitality, 135, 176.9, spiritual force, 1575.8, 2003.5, magic power, 1575, magic power is in synchronization with spiritual force, soul force, 158, status, rank 4 sacrificer strength is increasing in force. Estimated time to the all-snake curse outbreak, 20 years. Freeing part of my bloodline force and the growth in rank as a sacrificer has actually restored so much of my strength. After seeing his stats changing greatly, an ecstatic expression immediately appeared on Leyland's face. Feather of Chaos, the all-snake curse caused all of Leyland's stats to fall and sentenced him to die in 2 years. These problems felt like a rope constantly tightening around Leyland's neck, stifling him. But now, with the nefarious Filthbird's help, Leyland finally felt less pressed for time, allowing him to relax a little. My laws of confusion seal can delay the all-snake curse from flaring up for up to 18 years. After 20 years, even if you contact a rank 8 being again, you won't be able to strengthen the seal and postpone it any further. Unless you're able to find a rank 9 everlasting one. The nefarious Filthbird's voice was heard again. However, the small gray bird in front of Leyland seemed to have become slightly illusory, as if it had consumed too much energy. Thank you, almighty dignitary. Even if the curse wasn't completely resolved, Leyland still thanked the Filthbird sincerely. After all, if it wasn't for it, he wouldn't have 20 years to solve his problems. There is still half of the power of sacrifice left. Tell me your other requests. The bird spoke within Leyland's consciousness again. Leyland pondered for a while and spoke of his plans. Almighty Flapwing, I hope to obtain something to conceal myself. After all, I am bound to go deeper into the Hail Continent if I want to completely remove the all-snake curse. He had already discovered long ago that, in the purgatory world where the path of offering was prevalent, there was still a fatal weakness in any disguise he could come up with. The weakness was the existence of a dignitary's clone when one sacrificed. As long as the sacrificers reached rank 4, they would be able to summon the clone of a dignitary. And if those clones were intelligent, they would definitely be able to expose Leyland's disguise. During the previous skirmish, both the Elia's governor and Bakelark were only able to summon a phantom of their dignitary and not a complete clone. Hence, Leyland was able to conceal himself. However, he knew it was impossible to avoid them forever, especially in the Hail Continent. Therefore, suitable methods for concealment were necessary, and they had to be able to deceive the dignitary's clones. Furthermore, these existences may have some special detection methods. In particular, the Snake Dowager, who was the source of Chem-In bloodline descendants, would have such methods. There might be some kind of special reaction towards her own descendants. Although Leyland had already prepared all sorts of countermeasures, it still did not stop him from adding another insurance. You are very intelligent. The nefarious Filthbird nodded in approval. Once you appear within a range of 5 kilometers from one of our clones, you will definitely be unable to escape our detection. I bestow upon you the Feather of Chaos. The one who holds this item receives the protection of chaotic power. As long as you don't come into contact with the dignitary's real body, you won't be discovered. The small bird's silhouette became even more faint. In the end, it transformed into a gray illusory feather that floated in front of Leyland. Snake Dowager's descendant, Chemian Serpent Emperor. Travel the Hail Continent as you wish, and tear the Dowager's godly status apart. The gray nefarious Filthbird's clone vanished. Only a residue of its conscient reverberated in the secret chamber. In a flash, the sacrificial array exploded with a bang and turned into flying dust. I gained more than what I expected. Leyland let out a long breath, feeling rather glad. Doing business with the nefarious Filthbird was like dancing on a tightrope. Leyland had no choice but to consider all worst-case scenarios. Luckily, due to the archenemy relationship between the nefarious Filthbird and the Trial's Eye, it was very willing to see the Trial's Eye's ally, the Snake Dowager, be defeated. This was the foundation of the deal between both sides. Leyland's own power and his meticulous arrangements were the most crucial part of his plan. Even had the Filthbird's clones suddenly turned hostile, he had the confidence to break the sacrificial array and escape from it instantly. With a common enemy, and since Leyland himself could escape, the nefarious Filthbird was willing to see him as a pseudo-ally. Furthermore, Leyland still wasn't able to completely trust the nefarious Filthbird, since there was only a mutual relationship of wanting to use each other between them. Of course, the nefarious Filthbird still had the greater advantage, and their interests did not clash. Therefore, it was possible to maintain their agreement. For instance, for Leyland, who was an insincere sacrificer, being promoted directly to rank 4 level by the nefarious Filthbird was a very good testimony that they could work together. There would never be a lucky person who became an everlasting one in the world. Only through careful, meticulous considerations and anticipating worst-case scenarios would one be able to guarantee success. Rank 4 sacrificers can already begin to amplify their body's attributes through attracting the dignitary's energy into their own body and solidifying it permanently. Leyland muttered to himself. This kind of promotion often comes with a price. The whole body might be branded by the nefarious filthbird's energy, which creates a tissue and cellular transformation that cannot be opposed. Ultimately, one might even be controlled by them. AI chip, conduct an all-round inspection of my body's energy structure. Beep. Mission established, beginning to scan. The mechanical sound of the AI chip echoed. Soon after, fine blue light continuously swept across every part of Leyland's body. Discovered unknown energy structure. Determined to be the nefarious filthbird's energy branding. Eliminate. Without spending much time, the AI chip responded. Leyland had long prepared for this outcome. Hence, he did not look surprised at all, and he commanded very calmly instead. Show me the image. Soon after, Leyland was looking at the image of a cell that was magnified several times on the AI chip's screen. At the center of the cell was something that looked like a sea urchin, with peculiar energy waves of confusion. Beep. This energy is the crucial element to suppress the all-snake curse. If eliminated, it would trigger irreversible changes. Probability of all-snake curse showing advance in effect, 99.99%. Eliminate. The AI chip sound caused Leyland's expression to become slightly gloomy. It seems this would be the kill switch that the nefarious filthbird imposed on me. Although currently it's only used to threaten others and maintain its own position, I still need its strength. I need chaotic power to suppress the all-snake curse. Numerous rays of light continuously flashed across Leyland's pupils. However, he commanded, focus on monitoring. For the time being, maintain the original shape. Beep. Mission established, activating real-time monitoring procedure within the body. The AI chip loyally carried out Leyland's orders. No matter what, I still profited this time. Not only was the all-snake curse's effect delayed, I even obtained something to rely on when I infiltrate the Hale continent. Leyland murmured, stroking the walls with his palm. A layer of black liquid flame emerged from his palm, spreading rapidly as if it had life of its own, consuming the entire place almost instantly. Soon, the binding runes and sacrificial array vanished without a trace under the black demonic flames, and even its aura was burnt away. After the place was thoroughly cleaned up, a yellowish radiance emerged from Leyland's body and blent into the surrounding walls. A circular light floated above the coral island with a whoosh, and shortly after Leyland's figure quickly flew out. Thanks a lot, big fellow. Leyland looked at the large turtle and waved his hand while smiling. Afterwards, a slight green ray of light flew out of his fingers in a flash and merged into the turtle's forehead. Although that fine green beam was like dust when compared to the turtle's huge head, Leyland still heard a hint of pleasant surprise from the creature's whistles, especially after the ray merged. Its turbid eyes seemed to become somewhat quicker, and there was a hint of kindness in its expression while looking at Leyland. This is a gift from a wise man of ancient times. Although it only has a faint external aura, it still has exceptional effect in raising creatures, wisdom. I know you want more, but unfortunately, I still have a need for these. I cannot give you any more. Leyland smiled. His body transformed into a long black streak that vanished into the distant horizon, leaving the turtle with a regretful expression. The turtle howled in Leyland's direction as if it was seeing Leyland off. The loud howl sounded continuously, even causing huge waves to form on the surface of the sea, which continued for half an hour. Ultimately, the turtle's body gradually sank to the bottom of the ocean, leaving behind a huge white whirlpool. The strong wind whistled into Leyland's ears hauntingly. Leyland's expression turned solemn. Although he had already thought about how to sneak into the Hale continent, even when the plan had yet to be implemented, he had some slight concerns. Partial AI-1, report your position. Leyland pressed his temples, and a faint blue radiance was revealed from his pupils. Beep. Current coordinates, taking the main body as the origin, southeast, 786.67 nautical miles. An unusual message was directly sent by the AI chip. The people around the area are all agitated. Possibility of a conflict between military forces. It is advised that the main body arrive immediately, otherwise the puppet's identity will be exposed. At this moment, a warning sign was transmitted from the AI chip again, making Leyland's speed rapidly increase. Although using the AI chip to control the shadow puppet, allowed it to imitate all of Leyland's actions and even his aura to the point of being impossible to check its authenticity. It would still be exposed once it made a move. By that time, even if Leyland managed to rush there and kill them all, he would probably still be unable to stop the news from being transmitted. Consequently, he would have to abandon the identity he had created, Nick. The most important point, however, was that the plans he had previously set up would have to undergo modifications. The risks would be greater, and this was something Leyland could not accept. What exactly happened that caused things to escalate to this degree? Leyland carefully observed the report sent by Partial AI-1, and everything that happened after Port Elia's military campaign appeared immediately before his eyes.